because it's easy for sellers who are sort of in an e-commerce tunnel to look at our e-commerce marketplaces as a source of inspiration and a source of intelligence on what product I should launch, why I should launch it, how it should be different from competitors, how it should be priced. But we're ignoring all these retailers that have products that are purchased on a brick and mortar basis, right? So I'll go to Walmart.
Welcome to the E-com Breakthrough Podcast. Are you ready to unlock the full potential and growth in your business? You've already crossed 7 figures in sales, but the challenge is knowing how to take your business to the next level. Join Josh Hadley, an 8-figure e-com business owner and investor, as he interviews highly successful business owners. Get ready, because you're going to learn specific actions you can take today to help your business reach its full potential and leave a lasting impact on the world.
Welcome to the E-com Breakthrough Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Hadley, where I interview the top business leaders in e-commerce. Past guests include Kevin King, Aaron Cordovez, and Michael E. Gerber, author of The E-Myth. Today, I am speaking with Alex Yell. He is the owner of Uncle Todd's and Flip It Cap, and we are going to be talking about how you can expand into retail, diversification of your sales channels, and why revenue is key, especially with the changing market dynamics and the unknowns with Amazon FBA and their platform. This episode is brought to you by E-com Breakthrough, where I specialize in investing in and scaling 7-figure companies to 8 figures and beyond. If you're an ambitious e-commerce entrepreneur looking for a partner who can help take your business to the next level, my team and I bring hands-on experience, strategic insights, and the resources needed to fuel your growth. So if you or someone you know is ready to scale or looking for an investment partner, reach out to me directly at josh@ecombreakthrough.com. That's ecom with 2 M's, and let's turn your dreams into reality. But today I am super excited to introduce you all to Alex Yell. Alex began his professional journey in M&A and strategy at Deloitte Consulting. Seeking new challenges, he moved into the tech sector, initially joining a small tech company that was later acquired by AT&T. He then transitioned to a partnership role at Meta, formerly Facebook, where he spent 6 years in various partnerships and sales leadership positions. After his tenure at Meta, Alex and his family relocated to Boston, where he joined Thrasio, which is the largest Amazon FBA aggregator. As the general manager of Angry Orange, Thrasio's most successful brand, he expanded the pet cleaning product line into major brick and mortar retailers such as Target, PetSmart, and Walmart. Driven by the entrepreneurial spirit, Alex eventually started his own brand, Uncle Todd's, specializing in home cleaning and maintenance products. He also acquired Flip It Cap, a former Shark Tank brand, and Alex now successfully manages both e-commerce businesses, which operate across multiple channels, including an upcoming in-store launch at Walmart. So with that introduction, welcome to the show, Alex.
Thanks. Great to be here, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Alex, you've got a very, I would say, a non-traditional background of a lot of the guests that I've had on the show where, you know, they started their business right after college, or they've always been an entrepreneur right out of the gate. You have a lot of, you know, quote unquote professional experience in the M&A world there at Facebook, Meta, and Thrasio as well. So I'm curious, Alex, what has all of that experience kind of led you to in terms of how you approach e-commerce now that you've decided to double down into the e-commerce space? After working with Thrasio, you're like, I'm going to do this myself. Tell me what kind of mindset you have moving forward.
Yeah, Josh, you know, it's a good point. I've been fortunate to meet a lot of more traditional e-commerce operators in the year plus I've been out on my own, and including some exposure to them during my time at Thrasio. And first of all, most of the men and women who are these e-commerce entrepreneurs who have been selling on Amazon and similar channels for, you know, as long as decades with an S on the end. Super impressive. They are just really, really savvy operators. They've been through it all and back in terms of the evolution of these platforms, 3P marketplaces, the evolution of Amazon as we as, you know, e-commerce sellers and entrepreneurs and operators. I mean, every day or at least every week, there's some evolution of the platform. Some, you know, unfortunately, there's a new fee, there's a new tactic, there's a new requirement, there's a new threshold, there's a new, something you can do or can't do. Certainly, there's new trends, new competitors, new layouts to the way that the platform looks. So, I'm surrounded by so many thoughtful operators who have been in these platforms for years. I think with my, as you referenced, more, professional, I think you said, but, some might say more corporate background, right? I started off as a strategy and operations consultant at Deloitte, a professional services firm, one of the big four. Was there for about 4.5 years, and I took a lot of experiences from there and went into tech. And then I worked at Meta, or formerly known as Facebook, for 6 years. And by the time I left, that was, tens of thousands of people in a very large organization. So I think I try to find the middle ground between being sort of hacky, scrappy, and super entrepreneurial, with also adding a lot of both strategy and process to the way that I operate my businesses, to the way that I look at things like new product launches, to the way that I look at the methods and the mechanisms I use for advertising. So I think I bring a lot of that sort of buttoned up, call it professional experience, to this very sort of scrappy industry that's traditionally been people who have been just doing this for a long time and been through sort of hell and back, so to speak. So I try to bring a lot of the process, the strategy, and the data driven background to what is what requires a heavy operations emphasis. So I think I try to do a blend of the two, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does make a lot of sense. And before we hit the record button, I think one thing as you kind of came into this space, and we're in the same MDS group, I think maybe were surprised by the number of like hacks and tactics that people do X, Y, and Z to get around this, or, exploit this loophole or whatnot. And you kind of you definitely didn't kind of grow your brand that way. Tell me more about that mindset and how you think, why is that important in terms of the strategy shift that you have compared to maybe a lot of these guys that are used to hearing and exploiting the latest hack?
Yeah. So, kudos to all of my fellow, Amazon entrepreneurs and operators who have had, tons of success, and many, many, many of them more than me at this point, for sure. And kudos to them for identifying, what tactics, loopholes, opportunities, hacks, whatever we want to call them, to drive their business, to compete with other sellers, both domestic and abroad, and then also keep pace with the challenges that the Amazon marketplace presents on, like I said, a weekly basis. I have gotten so much exposure to sort of that side of things in the past 8 to 12 months, and have learned a ton from it, and have witnessed a lot of amazing operational tactics that I'm learning from every day and trying to implement where appropriate in my business. But I think with my background, especially having placed products not only on Amazon but in Walmart, retail, and Target and PetSmart, I think you need to have the tactics, you need to understand the loopholes, you need to know how to operate and be a savvy operator. But frankly, Josh, there's no substitute for having a good quality product at the right price, meeting the customer's expectations and preferences, and merchandised, marketed, and packaged well. As savvy as you are as an e-com operator, you still need to find a great product to sell that offers value, and, like I said, meets the consumers to where their preferences are in that given product category. And I think a lot of long-time super savvy operators almost ignore what they're selling and how it's presented and the quality and the price point, and overemphasize on the tactics on how to make it successful on Amazon, how to compete in their categories. So I think my takeaway in that regard is, don't forget about the product. Don't forget about the consumer product that you are trying to sell on Amazon or any other marketplace or retail channel, because at the end of the day, even the best Amazon operators will not be successful with a poor quality, poorly marketed, poorly priced, product. And so I think it's really a balance, right? You have to have a great product at a great price point, marketed and merchandised well, and you need to couple that with the right operational tactics and knowledge and abilities, in these marketplaces or in these channels.
Yeah, I echo that sentiment 100%. One of my favorite people I've been listening to, Alex Hermosi, right? And he shares basically that same mindset, which is like, look, if you spend just an extra portion of time on your product and make it that much better, right? Imagine what happens to your business if when you acquire one customer, that other customer now will acquire another customer for you because of the word of mouth or because of how much they love the product. But that only works if you go above and beyond for the product, right? People aren't going to go, they're not going to speak word of mouth unless it's negatively for an average product, right? It's got
Right.
to be above and beyond. So, Alex, I'm curious with Uncle, how does that, with that being said, how does that impact the way you're approaching building Uncle Todd and your brand there?
Yeah, sure. Josh, I'm going to take one quick step back and give a tangible example for how I feel like the product quality is so important and needs to be balanced with the Amazon operation. Traditionally, when Amazon was smaller and less mature than it is today, there would be a lot of tactics for things like buying positive reviews. Right, you launch a product and you use one of several sort of networks to try to get positive reviews, and obviously that boosts the credibility of your product and gets you to a 4-star, 5-star, what have you. We all know the benefit of positive reviews on Amazon. They're incredibly important. But the moment you stop, paying or trying to find hacks to get positive reviews, the real consumers around the country and around the world are going to be the judge and the jury for how good your product is. So if I launch a product and let's theoretically say I had a way of getting reviews and I got, called 20 friends and I said, hey, buy this product on Amazon, leave me a 5-star review, and they all do it. And then I've got 20 reviews and I've got 5 stars. I feel on top of the world. My product's set up for success. But as soon as like the general population starts buying those products who are not my friends, who have not been asked to give 5-star reviews, then they are going to be the honest, arbiters of truth to the rest of the world that are going to live on my product page, right? So if Josh gets my product and it's mediocre, it gets the job done, but there are better ones out there that might be cheaper or slightly more expensive but higher quality, the Joshes of the world are going to make that known, right? You're going to give me a 3-star, say, hey, this product did the job that I was looking for, but at the end of the day, the quality didn't hold up, or it only worked for a week or two, or I found a better one, or what have you. So you can prop up these success metrics by paying to do so and putting a lot of effort into it. But as your product scales and gets in the hands of more real consumers who are going to leave things like real reviews, it's all going to come out in the wash. And so you can prop up products, you can prop up reviews and ratings, but those are short-term fixes. Those are band-aids, and they're expensive ones, and they're not going to last. And so that's just an example of how important at the end of the day, the product quality and the price and the packaging is really going to be the way that you need to steer a product for long-term success. So
I think you hit the nail right on the head there. Because look, there's very few ways that you can manipulate reviews at this point, and frankly speaking, like, it's just not worth it whatsoever. Like, you should stay away from reviews with the 10-foot pole on Amazon. It's just not even worth it. So, which then just comes back to, and we've seen success with this ourselves, like, if you just come out with a good product, even if you have competitors attack you. Now, I know there's a lot of black hat tactics, and I think there's some very competitive categories where, like, it's hard. You get 1,000 negative reviews overnight sometimes, right? Like, there's stuff like that happens. But in general, Amazon's trying to police that. They're trying to close those loopholes. So I think in the long term, it is like whoever has the best product, like, it will be shown correctly in terms of the reviews in the long term. So Alex, going back to that first question then, so what knowledge did you gain, especially while you were at Thrasio, managing the Angry Orange brand? You got into retail. How did that, like, what did you learn from those experiences that are now influencing your 2 brands that you're owning now?
Sure. So when I first launched my first Uncle Todd's product, which was and still is a septic tank maintenance product, I designed it from the get-go to have omni-channel appeal. So I didn't just design for the Amazon digital shelf. But I took a step forward and I said, hey, I'm just starting this company, right? Nobody knows about Uncle Todd's. Nobody's ever received a product in their hand. I've got nothing on the market. This was pre-launch, of course. But how do I make a product that I could then theoretically, if given the opportunity, go to the world's largest retailer like Walmart and pitch a product and have it be a product that they might express interest and ultimately, potentially take a gamble and bring it to retail. So when I was doing my research, or when I continue to do my research for products, for new product launches, and my first all the way to products that have launched on the roadmap or on the roadmap for launch later this year, I spend a lot of time with Amazon, right? Like any Amazon seller who wants to launch a new product in Amazon, what categories are growing, what are people buying, what are they not buying, looking at the reviews for existing products, what are people saying about them, what do they like about them, what do they not like about them. Obviously, taking all the information that you can pull from Amazon, either directly or through a third-party tool, obviously like a Helium 10 or a Jungle Scout or a Seller Sprite, taking all that data and figuring out where the opportunity spots are, right? What price points are out there? What's the packaging look like? What are the RTBs or the reasons to believe in that product over a competitor? But what I also do, Josh, is I get out of my office and I go to the brick and mortar stores, because it's easy for sellers who are sort of in an e-commerce tunnel to look at our e-commerce marketplaces as a source of inspiration and a source of intelligence on what product I should launch, why I should launch it, how it should be different from competitors, how it should be priced. But we're ignoring all these retailers that have products that are purchased on a brick and mortar basis, right? So I'll go to Walmart, I'll go to Target, right? I'll go to any of these big box environments. I'll go to Costco, I'll go to BJ's, I'll go to the grocery stores, and I'll look at these categories and figure out what is being sold on brick and mortar. And when I launch a product, how can I launch a product that's both competitive in the Amazon ecosystem, but also has the potential to be competitive and successful in brick and mortar? So I try to take those, those tunnel vision blinders off and look at the marketplace as a whole, as opposed to just Amazon or just e-commerce.
Okay. I love that. Okay. So now I'm going to probe deeper. All right. So as you say you go to these retail stores, which I think is great, and a lot of innovation and ideas can come from this. I assume like you're looking at product packaging as one aspect of it. How does the product come packaged if it is to sit on a retail store shelf? So this would be my question here, especially with Amazon increasing FBA fees and all of that. What I'm hearing from most people is like, I'm looking to try to, can I reduce my product packaging? Can I reduce the size of my product so that I can go from large standard or maybe oversized into a standard product, large to small, to save on fees? And from what I've seen in the retail world, the packaging sometimes can be a little bit more bulky, right? I'm not worried so much about it's got to be 11 by 14 inches, but no more than 0.75 inches thick. So I stay in small standard size. How do you weigh how do you weigh that aspect of the packaging decision for e-commerce, where it could just come in a poly bag and that's acceptable versus, do I put it in a box?
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, I try to package and develop products that are, quote, retail ready. So I'd like to be able to sell the exact same product that I do on Amazon and sell it in a retail environment. So selling things in like a poly bag with an FN barcode SKU stickered on it, like, it checks the box. I feel like people get that, the Amazon package on their doorstep and they open it up and they, as long as it's the product they bought and it does what they wanted it to do, they've already made the purchasing decision. They've already bought it. It's already been shipped to their house. They're going to open up and use it for whatever the intended use is, right? When you're shopping in brick and mortar retail, you're looking at a shelf with a whole bunch of products in front of you. And most of what you're basing your decision to buy on, unless it's a product that you buy every week or every month or every 6 months, is going to come down to how it's merchandised and how it's packaged, right? That's critically important. But I still think that when people open an Amazon package that comes on their doorstep, they might be totally satisfied with a product that comes in a poly bag with an FNSKU barcode. But I think they would be surprised and delighted to receive a product that looks of the same quality and the same merchandising and the same, thought that goes into designing a package they would find otherwise on a retail shelf. So that's one thing. The principle of trying to essentially minimize size and weight, so your dimensional weight is as small as possible to get in your Amazon size tier, as you mentioned. That principle actually really applies in retail too. When you meet with a retail merchant or a buyer at any retailer, they often have a 6, 8, 10, 12-foot section of store with, maybe 3, 4, 5 tiers. And they are measuring their performance, or their bosses or their companies are measuring their performance dollars per square foot, right? They're paying rent for X thousand square feet of space. They need to drive as many dollars per square foot as possible. So think about it. If I have a shelf that's 24 inches deep and 6 feet across, would I rather have 8 products that fit on that 6-foot shelf, and each product is, between a half and a full foot in width? Or would I rather say, man, I'd love to get a dozen products on that same 6-foot shelf, because then I can show more products. I have more of an assortment. I give my customers more choice in terms of brand or price point or features, and I'm maximizing my dollars per square feet. So the same principle of we are trying to sell products on Amazon that are smaller, narrower, etc., applies in retail, because the more products that a retailer can put on the same size shelf, the more dollars they can generate per square foot in that assortment. So width of a product and the way that it stands on shelf is really important. Depth is less important. So that's actually a key interesting fact, right? Dimensional weight on Amazon, whether it's deep or wide, it all sort of factors to the same dimensional weight. But on Amazon, in retail rather, width is the constraining portion, not so much often height or depth. And so there's a lot of similarities, but at the end of the day, if you can condense your packaging size down, that's going to be attractive to a retailer, as well as obviously your P&L on Amazon.
Yeah, I love that. Great principles. Love this. All right, tell me about price, because I think price, for the longest time, I would see, prices at Target or Walmart for a set of cards that would be like fairly cheap, like $5. And I'm like, man, those guys, like, you guys are losing money. I can sell the same thing on Amazon for $15, right? And people are buying it left and right. So how do you approach pricing? And now I'll also say that was the Amazon long ago. With the increase of competition, I'm starting to find like, ooh, actually that retail price actually seems a little bit more attractive now. So tell me how you approach pricing.
Yeah, sure. So one thing on pricing, going back to your retail ready, or my retail ready product development ethos, part of the reason I'm also shopping in brick and mortar when I'm doing my research, right, is because sometimes things are more expensive on Amazon than they are in brick and mortar. So, let's just say the market for, for some calculators, right? The market for calculators on Amazon, this calculator would go for, $14.99, and all the similar calculators for $14.99. When I go into Staples, or I go into Walmart, or I go into Target, and that same exact calculator, or, same functionality, same size, etc., is $9.99, then I know there is something that I need to be doing better. That means to me that I should be selling that same calculator for $9.99 on Amazon, because it's being sold in brick and mortar for $9.99. So I think it's important to be competitive on both channels. I've always been of the mindset, Josh, that the margins, believe it or not, are typically healthier these days in brick and mortar than they are on Amazon.
Tell me more.
Yeah, sure. So when you sell to brick and mortar retailers, it's typically somewhere around 50% of MSRP, or what they're going to sell it for. So if your customer is going to buy your product on a Walmart shelf for $10, rule of thumb is that Walmart's going to buy it from you for somewhere around $5. Maybe it's $4.25, maybe it's $5.25. Different categories have different margin expectations. So some may want a 60% margin, whereas some buyers might be okay with a 40% margin. You're of course going to have your fees. Sometimes you have to pay things like slotting fees, or removing, paying for discounting the product that's coming out in place of your product going in. Obviously, you have to follow their routing guides to make sure your product is packaged properly, and you have to have a 3PL that's going to ship it out, and you have to calculate freight costs, and sometimes there's marketing co-op that needs to go along with it. Obviously, $10 widget for sale on the shelf. The retailer is going to buy it for $5. There are costs that are going to take. So the margins aren't 50%, 100%, right? There's going to be another 10, maybe 12% in terms of fees and marketing co-op that you're going to pay. But if you think about Amazon, I mean, in my estimate, Amazon themselves is going to take usually around 50%, right? If I sell an item on Amazon for $10, I hope to get $5 out of it. And I have not paid the cost of goods sold on that yet, right? So I believe firmly that if you launch the right product at Amazon and you have the right cost structure, your net margins can actually be better in retail than they are in Amazon. And part of that comes, Josh, from not having to continuously chase PPC bids and sponsor your products, right? When you go into a Walmart or you go into a Target or you go into a PetSmart, their entire existence is based on the ability to drive customers into their store. Whereas on Amazon, yeah, Amazon takes, millions of shoppers to Amazon.com, but then it's a pay for play environment, right? When you're on the shelf, when my products are on the shelf at Amazon, or sorry, at Walmart or Target or PetSmart, it is entirely up to the customer in terms of which product they choose to convert on. It's not because I paid more to get here. It's not really like that, right? The merchants can decide which shelf you're on and which placement, and some of that is within their control, but you're not actively paying every time somebody shows up to the aisle for that sale. So the margins, in addition, in my mind, being healthier after all is netted and done, they're more consistent because, as we all know, as Amazon e-commerce entrepreneurs and sellers, our profit margins fluctuate by the hour. How many people are bidding? How many competitors? What's the average bid? What's the conversion rate? And you take a lot of that constant fluctuation out of the equation when you're on a brick and mortar shelf.
Yeah, man, I think you hit the nail right on the head there. I genuinely believe like the tide is turning, and it has over the last, I would say 18 to 24 months, where I think that you can probably be more profitable off of Amazon, doing traditional brick and mortar, because, Amazon, I think, is going to continue to push like the race to the bottom, and PPC costs are only going to go up. FBA fees are only going to increase. So if that happens and you're already giving 50, 60% to Amazon, man, I would love to go get that same amount, but maybe even more selling into traditional brick and mortar. So I love that strategy. And I think
let me mention one quick thing, Josh, on that front.
Yeah.
There was a new Amazon policy that came into my inbox late last night, whereas this whole inbound placement fee, it used to be, five parcels sort of would qualify you for removing any inbound placement fees. I got an email last night saying that now they have to be 5 of the same SKU, and each master case has to be the same quantity. So before, if I had 5 SKUs, if I made a shipment, 1 box of each SKU, I could probably qualify and I wouldn't pay the inbound placement fees. So that was great because, some companies that have several variations, I've got a blue, a green, a white, and a yellow t-shirt or whatever. They used to send, great, I'm gonna send 5 boxes in, 1 box of each color product, and I hit the inbound placement threshold and I'll have to pay that fee. But now I have to send 5 boxes of red t-shirts and then 5 boxes of blue t-shirts. And so literally in the last, 12 to 24 hours, has there been another Amazon change that inevitably will cost most sellers additional margin. And it's not like you and I can go back to our manufacturers and say, hey guys, I just got an email from Amazon last night. Now it's going to cost me more money to inbound product. So I need a discount on my cost of goods sold landed, right? It just doesn't work like that. We have 2 choices. We can either take the margin hit or we can raise prices and try to combat that. Neither option is a good one, right?
Yep.
So, that's one thing that I wanted to mention. The other thing that I wanted to mention is, Amazon at the end of the day, as much as I'm sort of leading everybody to the fact that margins are healthier and more consistent in brick and mortar retail. Well, there's two headwinds there, right? One headwind is that Amazon's getting bigger and bigger, and more people are shopping for more and more things on Amazon. So that's just a headwind, right? I think the pie is still shifting. Plenty of people still go into brick and mortar retail and buy plenty of things. But year over year, especially as, generations get older and their purchasing power increases, a lot of people, many people find it very easy. They're Prime members. They hit a button at, 9:30 at night, and it's on their doorstep by the next afternoon, and they never had to leave their house to get the product they needed. There's a huge value to that. So I will say that, Amazon's the elephant in the room. They drive a ton of demand across many different categories, and it's consistent. I will also say that getting into retail, depending on the retailer, is a long and difficult path. Whereas if you want to launch a product on Amazon, within 24 hours, you can have a listing created, and probably within, 72 hours, you can have a box landed in the Amazon facility with inventory, available to sell shortly thereafter. So, retail's great, but there are some key advantages on Amazon, so I don't want to ignore those.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're exactly right. I don't think that getting off of Amazon and turning a blind eye to Amazon that's definitely not the right answer, right? But I think that it's becoming more, you've got to be smarter as an owner and operator. You need to be able to take the punches that are going to happen with Amazon, because the next 5 years on Amazon, it's only going to get more competitive and more margin squeeze. Like, that's exactly what's going to happen. So how do you prepare for that accordingly? So, Alex, you've sold me on the fact that I think retail is important. I like the attractiveness of the margins that may be there. But you mentioned, like, this is a longer sales process. This isn't like, oh, I'm in there tomorrow. Great. I'm in all Walmart stores. So walk me through the process as you talk to these brand owners that are listening. How would you recommend they approach getting into retail? I think there's a big difference between big box stores versus your small boutique shops as well. So walk me through, like, and especially maybe, what are you going to do with your own brands? What is your go-to retail strategy for them?
Sure. Yeah. So Josh, I will put a major asterisk and a caveat on the fact that it depends on what category it is, what you sell, who you sell to, what your demographic is. But I'll take my brand, for example, Uncle Todd's. We sell home cleaning and maintenance products, which are of a pretty broad appeal by and large. We have a septic tank maintenance products. We have a floor cleaner. We have a toilet bowl cleaner. We have a shoe deodorizer. We have some great high quality products. And my products in my categories lend themselves fairly well to big box retail, right? A la Walmart, a la Target, et cetera, et cetera. Depending on the category, big box might be great. I mean, big box stores, because of who they are and what they do, they tend to try to carry many different categories of products. So a shopper could go in there and suffice all of their shopping needs. In my mind, if your product or your product category is carried in the big box environment, putting the effort into sales cycles with a Walmart, with a Target, or a similar store, you get a lot more juice out of the squeeze than if you try to hire up a sales team or go and pound on the doors of smaller, maybe more regional chains and or boutiques. It's a lot of effort, right? Sales and retail are a lot of effort. And would you rather put all of your effort into a target list of 3, 4, 5 large retailers who would be able to, purchase your product in quite heavy quantities? Or would you rather go around and knock doors for a onesie, twosie order that's going to be fairly limited in scale and fairly inconsistent in terms of demand, right? Ship a case every month, every 2 months when they ring the bell, versus a large retailer who has the potential to consistently place orders of large quantities on a weekly or a biweekly or a monthly basis. So in my mind, for products that you find in these larger format stores, across the US, that's where I would put my effort. Now, if you're a product that ends up in boutique stores, right, and that's just where your product is purchased, then inevitably, if you want to be there, that's where you have to sell. Um, but I don't know that I think that is a hugely scalable or a hugely profitable revenue stream, in my opinion. But this is all, like I said, category and product dependent to an extent.
Yeah. Okay. Makes a lot of sense. Now, if you're trying to target these big box stores, then how do you approach them? Do you recommend having a sales rep that you hire internally, or do you go with one of the brokers that already have those relationships? Where do you
Yep.
begin?
Yeah, I mean, I think that answer is pretty simple. Well, you have three options, right? You can either two options. You can sell direct, right? You can hire a person, or if you're the person, then you can be the person to try to knock on doors, send messages on LinkedIn, attend trade shows, attend conferences, have booths set up. There's specialized sort of retailer merchant conferences, like ECRM is a company that does basically, vendor supplier speed dating throughout the country. And a bunch of vendors come and a bunch of suppliers come, and we sit down for 5 minutes or 15 minutes and I pitch the product. It was done a lot virtually during COVID. I don't know where that sort of sits now, whether it's back to in person or a hybrid. But you can essentially sell yourself or hire somebody internally to be your sales rep. Or you can go out and you can say, hey, I know I want to be in Walmart, and I'm going to hire a broker who does a ton of business with Walmart, has a lot of connections, has a lot of relationships, and I'm going to end up paying them uh, either either just a commission if they get me in the door, or I'm going to pay them a retainer for all their work, and then a commission if and when they get me in the door. Um, it depends on how big your operation is and whether you have the skills or the people to go and direct sell yourself. For my particular case, I did sell directly to Walmart. I did not hire a rep. Um, and part of that was I had some relationships from past, retail experience from Angry Orange. So I leveraged my knowledge and relationships. But if you've never worked in retail before and you've never sold to a retailer, it's very complicated. There's a lot of things that need to be done. There's a lot of information you have to be prepared with. And I would recommend, unless you have somebody on your team or unless you personally have experience selling into and selling to a retailer, it's probably best to hire a rep who knows that retailer and who knows the process. To me, going direct, if you have no knowledge, is probably penny wise but pound foolish. You might think you're ahead of the game because you're avoiding commissions, but all it takes is a single chargeback from something you messed up on getting your product to that retailer to wipe out somebody's commission for 6, 12, 18 months. So in my experience, finding somebody who can rep and guide you through the process is probably money very well spent unless you have the experience already.
Yeah, that's invaluable insights there. So another question would be, so how can you approach a big box store, and what are they interested in? Do they want to see that you have a product that's crushing it on Amazon? Or do they want to have something that is maybe more unique? Or what if you're a brand new startup? Do big box stores like that? Or are they like, look, dude, I've got limited shelf space. Why am I going to choose your brand? Like, prove it. Like, I don't see any D2C sales. You just launched on Amazon. Like, what's the story? How do you get in? And
Yeah.
what is the pitch point?
Yeah, great question. So Josh, in my experience, both at Angry Orange and my current brand, we launched a product at Amazon. We saw success. We felt as though we've achieved product market fit, and the ratings and the reviews sort of spoke for themselves, and were the proof of concept. It's really hard to say, let's just say, Josh, you were the Walmart buyer. Hey, Josh, nice to meet you. I developed this really, really nice mug, and it works great. It's super good quality. The price point is there. Josh, you might take the mug and drink out of it and use it for a cup of coffee and check it out and whatever. But if I say, hey, Josh, I developed this really great mug, and if you click this link, you're going to see there are 3,000 reviews, and it's got a 4.7 star average, and people have more or less nothing but good things to say about it. which product are you more likely to buy, right? The product that somebody's telling you is of great quality and great value, or the product that's got thousands of people who have purchased this product and basically attested to the quality, to the value, to the features, whatever it is.
Yeah.
By launching a product on Amazon and by getting that, genuine feedback, sales velocity, and reviews and ratings to back it up, how easy of a decision have you made that for the buyer that you're speaking with? I mean, you've answered all the questions, you've ticked all the boxes, you've probably sent them a sample. What questions might Josh have? Well, does it work? Well, 3,000 people who left a review think it works, right? Is the price point good? Well, I can see on Amazon that it's the most competitively priced, or it's competitively priced. So you are taking the hardest work of a buyer out of, off their desk by having that proof of concept and that market validation through Amazon success. So my experience is launch a product on Amazon because it's quick to do so and you have a huge market, test it out, get those good feedback, get those good reviews, right? And then you go to the buyer at any of these retailers, and you've got the whole package. I've got the product, I've got the price point, I've got the people who are attesting to the quality and the value and such and so forth. What questions are left, right? And cherry on top is here's my product compared to the competitors you have on your shelf already, and here's how my product is better, cheaper, et cetera, et cetera.
Do you almost want to be able to show that, like, hey, we're a bestseller on Amazon and we're outselling any of your current products that are on your shelf right now on Amazon?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, certainly the former, right? I'm not shy about saying, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, here's my link on Amazon for this product so you can, and they'll do that on their own. You don't have to give them the link. They're going to go to Amazon. The first thing they're going to do is go to Amazon and look up the product, right? And you don't need to, be coy or shy away from it, even if they're Walmart and there's this rivalry between them. There's no question that Amazon's a giant e-commerce marketplace that has a lot of demand, right? So send them the link, provide it to them, be very upfront, show them the validation. And then, you could compare it to their current assortment and say, hey, I'm outselling all of your brands 5-1 on Amazon. The only caveat to that, Josh, is because Walmart has been around for so long, or Target has been around for so long, there are just some products that sell better or more in brick and mortar than they do in e-commerce. So you have to be a little bit careful about saying, hey, I'm outselling your current assortment 5-1 for every product, because they may be seeing, exponentially greater sales on their shelf than you're seeing on Amazon. I think the smarter approach is to say, hey, here's my product, here's why it's great, here are the reviews and the ratings and the sales velocity to back it up. And instead say, and here's why my product is going to drive more value and benefit to your customer. As opposed to saying I'm outselling them, just saying, hey, here's my product, it's great, and we offer this feature, this feature, this feature, and our price is 10% lower than the current assortment you have.
That's great. I love that. And I think it truly shifts like your entire mindset in the way you approach this business. It's kind of like launch on Amazon first, give it the proof of concept, but have a competitive enough product that you could then move it into retail. So I love that. Alex, is there anything that you haven't touched on that you think our listeners should know if they're interested in getting into retail?
Yeah, no, I think again, I will just recap the importance of a good quality product priced well and providing, features and benefits that are going to surprise and delight a customer, right? No amount of salesmanship, no amount of gamesmanship, no amount of, operational prowess is going to overcome the need for a good quality performing product at a good price point, packaged and marketed well. So don't forget that about the foundation, whether it's Amazon, whether it's Walmart, whether it's Target, whether it's a specialty retailer like a PetSmart or a Petco. The product needs to be there. And if it's not there, you might pull wool over somebody's eyes, whether it's an individual consumer or even, a buyer, but it's all going to come out in the wash. I'll also say that getting on the shelf is one thing. It's time consuming. It's difficult. It could be expensive at times. There's a steep learning curve. But Josh, staying on the shelf is equally or as potentially even harder, right? So just making sure that once you're on that shelf, you're not sitting there being like, all right, I'm on the shelf. Now I can just, take the pedal off the gas. You always need to keep up with, what are competitors doing? Where is the market evolving? What's the innovation in the space? You just need to continue evolving your product to keep up with, the buyer, the consumer's expectations. Because in retail or in Amazon, you can't just launch a great product and say, my job here is done and hope that ATM machine just sort of generates cash. Because at some point, if you're not abreast of market changes, customer expectations, competitors, you can very quickly fall off that throne and it can be a rude awakening.
Yeah. Alex, you have dropped some knowledge bombs on us today, and I took down a lot of personal notes here. So this has been an awesome episode. I love to leave the audience with 3 actionable takeaways from every show. So here are the 3 actionable takeaways that I noted. Alex, let me know if you feel like I'm missing something. Okay. Action item number 1 is you've got to come out with an amazing product. And I think that the time and energy that you are going to invest in making sure that your product is the best that it possibly can be and going above and beyond to where the customer is truly wowed is going to be the differentiating factor of keeping you in business for the next decade. And I think, again, the days are getting shorter and shorter for the people that can sell, put lipstick on a pig and put it up on Amazon and make a few bucks real quick. And, that's a harder business strategy. So it may require some more upfront investment and cost, but take the time to put together an amazing product. Action item number 2 is doubling.
Josh, I want to pause you on that one.
Yeah.
I think if you can't outcompete on quality or features, you better outcompete on price or merchandising. So you maybe sometimes you can't develop a product that's way better or way cheaper or way prettier, right? But you have to at least hit on one of those. Otherwise, you're not going to win, right? So you either have to have a far superior product and or be priced better and or be merchandised and marketed better. If you don't have any of those 3, you're wasting your time.
What do you mean by merchandising and marketing from that aspect?
Presentation, right? Photos, listing quality, videos, the packaging quality. Does it good? Does it look authentic? Does it look genuine? Does the feel and look of the product match the price that somebody's paying? I don't want to buy something for $100 that shows up in a poly bag with an FM basket. I'll just feel like I spent a lot of money on a low quality product. So, I think that is important.
Yeah, really good addition there. So yeah, action item number 2 is going to be when you do go for your product development, go to the brick and mortar stores. Go take a look and see what is sitting on the store shelves right now to be inspired, see what the product packaging looks like. And I love what your approach, I think, is very different from 99% of the Amazon entrepreneurs that started in this game, which is you're looking to create a product that I don't need to make any changes to the packaging or anything. If I get a PO from Walmart tomorrow, it's the same inventory and it goes all in. So I think that looking at the price, looking at the packaging, looking at how the product is merchandised, as you mentioned, I think is an invaluable concept to add to your new product development strategy. And then last but not least, the third action item is I think people should have that type of mindset shift where I still think launching on Amazon is priority number 1, right? You've got to succeed there in order to be able to have that argument or to have that case study to bring to big box stores to say hey, we're winning here. We really believe we could drive additional traffic to your store, offer customers a better experience. Because again, for the big box stores, it's what's in it for them, right? Is there more margin in it for them? Can they, are you bringing off Amazon or not even off Amazon traffic, but do you have marketing campaigns that are maybe even driving those people to those stores, right? That's what those big box stores are going to be looking for. So Alex, those are my 3 action items. Anything else that you would add that I missed or skipped here?
No, I think you did a great job recapping, Josh. I hope this, can be found helpful by folks in similar positions and are thinking about retail launches. Amazon is a fantastic platform to launch a new product. But once you hopefully achieve success there, I think diversifying and de-risking by way of, omni-channel sales, be it brick and mortar, be it other marketplaces, is a wise thing to do, especially in the environment that we're in and what we've seen, transpire on Amazon over the past, 12, 24, 36 months. So
Love it. All right. As we wrap things up, Alex, I ask each guest the following three questions. So here we go. Number one, what's been the most influential book that you've read and why?
yeah, so I had to think about this one, Josh, and I had to actually look at that bookshelf behind me to bring to mind what it was. I don't read a ton of business books. No real reason other than it's hard for me to stay sort of devoted and dedicated to them as I read through. I love nonfiction stories of survival, and so one of my favorites is Endurance, which is about Ernest Shackleton's incredible voyage in 1914 as he attempted to cross the Antarctic continent. And I recommend the book for anybody who likes nonfiction, sort of survival tales, shipwreck type material. But it just, what I think it taught me, and I think it's inspiring because it just, I mean, people, the things that people have gone to make all of our challenges on a day to day virtually inconsequential. And it really puts things in perspective. We as entrepreneurs have bad days, bad hours, bad emails, bad phone calls, and we think like our world is about to crumble. And I think when you read books like that, first of all, it's a little bit of an escape from our day to day, right? I'm not trying to cross the Antarctic continent in the early 1900s, but the things that they have overcome and have to survive and get through put our challenges, obstacles, stressors, and anxiety in perspective.
Yeah, I like that mindset. That's great. Question number two, what's your favorite AI tool that you've been using and why?
Man, Josh, I wish I had a better answer for you. I don't spend a ton of time with AI. I do use ChatGPT and I do use the paid version, which is feels like the best money one could spend. I think it's $20 a month, right? So I do use that. What do I use it for? I use it for listing content. I use it to analyze a lot of competitors. I use it to analyze images of competing products. What I really love about the paid version is you can actually upload files, Excel spreadsheets, Word docs, PDFs. So I'll give you a real example. The Walmart routing guide is this binder here. It's 200 and I don't know 50 or 300 pages of dense material of basically how to send your product into Walmart and be compliant while doing so. I took this 300-page PDF, I uploaded it to ChatGPT, and I asked it to pull out, key elements or key things that I need to do given the kind of seller I am and the products that I sell. And that's just a huge time savings, right? So being able to upload documents and having run analysis and pull key points out, things like that, has saved me a ton of time.
I love I love that case study. And yeah, who wants to read 300 documents when
Exactly.
great use of ChatGPT. So thank you. All right, final question. Who is somebody that you admire or respect the most in the e-commerce space that other people should be following and why?
Yeah, I'll say that, I do listen to quite a few podcasts like yours, Josh. So it's an honor to be here. As they say, um, first time caller, long time listener. So thank you, Josh. But I also really enjoy Guy Raz and how I build this podcast. I think it's just great to hear from inspiring, entrepreneurs who started off with, one location or one product or one thought or one idea, and just hear about the journeys, right? I think it's very easy for us entrepreneurs to have a bad day or a bad email or a failed product launch and think that like, oh my gosh, like how royally did I screw this up? Am I going to make this work? Is this company going to be worth something? Am I going to be able to sell something? And it's just great. It creates a lot of empathy for me to listen to his podcast as he interviews, um, entrepreneurs and hears about the highs and the very real lows of the journey. And I think that also keeps me quite grounded.
Yeah, I think one of the most valuable things is learning from other entrepreneurs, because we all share, similar highs and lows, even in very different industries. And hearing somebody else that was on the, brink of bankruptcy, so to speak, and what they did and flip things around, and now it's a $100 million+ brand, right?
Yeah.
Can be very inspiring. So I love that recommendation. So Alex, this has been a great episode. Thanks for sharing your wisdom with us. If people want to follow you, they want to learn more, where can people follow you best?
Yeah, great question. Admittedly, I'm not super active on any of the socials. Feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn. And that's probably the platform that I check most frequently, and that I'd be glad to chat with any listeners and give some advice or guidance. So I'd say find me on LinkedIn, Alex Yale, and let's connect from there.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for your time today, Alex.
Thanks, Josh. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for listening. Visit ecombreakthrough.com for more information. If you've enjoyed today's episode, the best way you can show your appreciation is by clicking the subscribe button and quickly leaving a review. See you again next time.